This is absolutely shocking, and if you're not enraged by Paul Heyman's ruthless betrayal and calculating manipulation, then you clearly missed the special counsel already moving on from Roman Reigns just hours after his devastating Crown Jewel loss to form what could be the most dangerous alliance in WWE history. If you think Paul is taking time to reflect or showing loyalty to the man he called Tribal Chief for years, you're dead wrong, because what I'm about to expose proves that Heyman had this new partnership planned weeks in advance, which means he knew Roman was going to lose and did nothing to prevent it because he was already planning his next power move. Comment right now if you think Paul Heyman is the most despicable snake in wrestling history for abandoning Roman Reigns at his lowest moment, because the alliance Paul is forming will reshape the entire WWE landscape and prove that loyalty means nothing to the special counsel when there's power and money on the line. This isn't just about finding a new client, this is about Paul orchestrating Roman's downfall so he could attach himself to WWE's next dominant force, and the identity of his new partner will shock you to your core. The wise man just became the betrayer. Let me break down exactly what happened, because the timeline of Paul's moves proves this was premeditated betrayal of the highest order. Roman Reigns lost his championship at Crown Jewel in devastating fashion, a loss that ended his historic reign and shattered the Bloodline's aura of invincibility. Any normal advocate, any person with even a shred of loyalty, would have stayed by Roman's side in that moment, helped him process the loss, planned the comeback. But Paul Heyman isn't normal. Within 3 hours of Roman's loss, before Roman had even left the medical facility where he was being evaluated for injuries, Paul was already in secret meetings with WWE management discussing his future. Multiple sources backstage report that Paul didn't even check on Roman after the loss, didn't send a message, didn't offer support. He just moved on like the past several years meant absolutely nothing. The meetings Paul held were with Triple H and other WWE executives, and the topic wasn't how to rebuild Roman or plan his redemption arc. The topic was who Paul's next client would be. Paul was shopping himself, presenting options, making demands about creative control and financial compensation for his advocacy services. While Roman was devastated and vulnerable, Paul was conducting business. Here's a trivia question for the hardcore fans: how many different wrestlers has Paul Heyman managed to world championship victories in WWE? Drop your count below. But here's where it gets absolutely infuriating: multiple witnesses report that Paul was smiling during these meetings. Not the fake smile of someone trying to be professional in a difficult situation, but genuine satisfaction. Paul wasn't upset about Roman's loss. He was relieved. He was excited. Because Roman's loss freed him to pursue what he'd apparently been planning for weeks. The identity of Paul's new alliance partner has been the subject of intense speculation. The rumors have been flying. Some say it's Brock Lesnar returning to reclaim his advocate. Others suggest it's a young up-and-comer that Paul sees as the next big thing. Some even whisper that Paul is joining forces with someone outside WWE who's making the jump. But according to my sources, the truth is even more shocking than any of these rumors. Paul Heyman is reportedly forming an alliance with Solo Sikoa. Yes, you read that correctly. Paul is abandoning Roman to join forces with Roman's own family member. The audacity, the absolute disrespect of Paul not just leaving Roman but immediately aligning himself with someone from the Bloodline is staggering. This isn't just betrayal, this is calculated destruction of everything Roman built. Drop a comment: do you think Solo Sikoa should accept Paul Heyman's offer, or should he show loyalty to Roman by rejecting the special counsel? Let me know your take. Think about the implications of this alliance. Solo has been Roman's enforcer, his most loyal soldier, the one family member who seemed completely devoted to the tribal chief's vision. But Paul sees something in Solo that he thinks can be exploited: ambition. Solo has been in Roman's shadow for years, doing the dirty work while Roman got all the glory. Paul is apparently offering Solo something irresistible: the chance to step out of Roman's shadow and become the new face of the Bloodline with Paul's guidance. The pitch Paul is reportedly making to Solo is brilliant in its manipulation. Roman had his time. Roman accomplished everything there was to accomplish. But he's finished now. He lost. His aura is broken. His invincibility is gone. But you, Solo? You're just getting started. You have the size, the presence, the hunger. With my wisdom and your power, we don't rebuild the Bloodline, we replace it with something better. Something stronger. Something with you at the head of the table. The psychological warfare in that pitch is masterful. Paul is telling Solo everything he's probably been thinking but was too loyal to say out loud. He's validating Solo's resentment at being in Roman's shadow. He's offering a path to supremacy that doesn't require waiting for Roman to step aside or sharing glory with the tribal chief. Paul is dangling the one thing that ambitious wrestlers can't resist: the chance to be the guy. According to sources, Solo is seriously considering Paul's offer. Reports suggest Solo has been meeting with Paul privately, listening to his plans, being seduced by the vision Paul is painting. Solo hasn't committed yet, but he hasn't rejected the offer either, which means Paul's manipulation is working. The fact that Solo is even entertaining this betrayal shows how effectively Paul is exploiting family dynamics. Quick question: if Solo accepts Paul's offer, Does that make Solo more villainous than Seth Rollins when he betrayed the Shield? Sound off below. But here's what makes this situation even more complicated: if Solo accepts Paul's offer, it doesn't just affect Roman, it threatens to destroy the entire bloodline. The Usos, the other family members, everyone who's been part of this faction will be forced to choose between Roman and Solo. Paul is essentially creating a civil war within wrestling's most powerful family, and he's doing it purely for his own benefit. The meeting where Paul is expected to make his official announcement is scheduled for this week's SmackDown. WWE has been heavily promoting a major announcement from Paul Heyman's segment, and speculation is that this is when Paul will publicly align himself with Solo and essentially declare war on Roman. The promotional materials show Paul in his suit, looking as confident and calculating as ever, with the caption, "The Special Counsel Speaks." Roman's camp is reportedly in panic mode. They know what Paul is planning, they know Solo is considering the offer, and they're desperately trying to figure out how to respond. Some reports suggest Roman wants to confront Solo directly and demand his loyalty. Others say Roman is so hurt by Paul's betrayal that he's questioning whether anyone in the bloodline is truly loyal to him. Tell me in the comments, should Roman try to win back Paul Heyman's loyalty, or should he cut ties completely and prove he doesn't need the special counsel? What would you do? The bloodline members are divided on how to handle this situation. Jimmy USO reportedly believes they should stick together and reject Paul's attempts to divide them. GUSO is apparently more conflicted, understanding Solo's frustration at being overlooked. The tension within the bloodline is reaching breaking points, which is exactly what Paul wants: chaos that he can exploit. Paul's motivation for this move is complex but ultimately comes down to power. Paul has always been about aligning himself with whoever gives him the most influence and the biggest platform. When Roman was on top, Paul was Roman's wiseman. But now that Roman has fallen and appears vulnerable, Paul sees Solo as the better investment. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's absolutely in character for Paul Heyman. The historical context is important. Paul has a long history of switching clients when he sees better opportunities. He left Brock for CM Punk, left Punk for Brock, left Brock for Roman. Paul's loyalty has always been to himself first, but we keep forgetting that because he's so good at making his advocacy feel genuine. This situation is reminding everyone that Paul Heyman is a businessman first and friend never. The business implications for WWE are massive. Paul Heyman with Solo Sikoa creates a new main event act that could be pushed immediately. WWE wouldn't need months of building. Paul's presence gives Solo instant credibility and main event status. From a pure business standpoint, this alliance makes sense for WWE even if it's morally despicable from a character standpoint. The fan reaction has been intensely divided. Roman supporters are furious at Paul and calling for him to be punished for his disloyalty. Solo supporters see this as his chance to finally get the spotlight he deserves. Paul's fans, yes, he has fans, are praising him for being a strategic genius who always puts himself in position to succeed. The discourse is everywhere. What's your prediction? Will Solo Sikoa ultimately accept or reject Paul Heyman's offer? Give me your call and explain your reasoning. The potential for storytelling is incredible if WWE commits to this angle. Imagine the promos: Paul explaining why he left Roman, Solo justifying his decision to accept Paul's offer, Roman delivering heartbroken speeches about betrayal by both his wiseman and his family. These are the kinds of emotionally charged segments that make wrestling compelling. The eventual confrontation between Roman and Paul is going to be must-see television. Roman will want answers: why Paul betrayed him, whether Paul ever truly believed in him, whether their entire relationship was just business. Paul's response will be crucial. Will he show remorse? Will he be coldly professional? Will he twist the knife by pointing out Roman's failures? The match possibilities are endless. Roman versus Solo with Paul at Solo's side. Roman trying to get to Paul but having to go through Solo first. A situation where Roman recruits his own new advocate to counter Paul's influence. Multi-man matches where bloodline allegiances are tested. Every option creates heat and interest. The championship implications are fascinating. If Solo has Paul in his corner, does that make him the favorite to become WWE champion? Does Paul's strategic mind give Solo advantages that he wouldn't have otherwise? Does Solo's rise push Roman further down the card? The power dynamics of WWE's main event scene could shift dramatically. The psychological impact on Roman is profound. Roman has been betrayed before, by Seth and the Shield, by various bloodline members over the years, but Paul's betrayal might hurt most because Paul was with Roman during his most dominant period. Paul helped build Roman's tribal chief persona. For Paul to abandon that so quickly suggests it was never as meaningful to Paul as it was to Roman. Here's a controversial question: does Paul Heyman owe Roman Reigns loyalty after everything they accomplished together, or is Paul justified in looking out for his own career interests? Be honest. The potential for this to lead to a full-scale bloodline civil war is real. If Solo accepts Paul's offer, other family members will be forced to choose sides. Do they stay loyal to Roman out of respect for tradition and hierarchy? Or do they follow Solo and Paul because they offer a path to success and prominence? the family could be torn apart. The timing of Paul's move is strategic. He's striking while Roman is at his weakest immediately after a devastating loss when Roman's confidence is shattered. Paul knows that Roman will struggle to respond effectively because he's dealing with so much emotionally. It's a predatory move that shows how ruthless Paul can be. The comparison to other manager betrayals is inevitable. Is this worse than Bobby Heenan turning on Andre the Giant? Is it comparable to when Paul left Brock for CM Punk? Does this rank as Paul's most ruthless betrayal? Wrestling historians will debate this for years. The social media reaction has been nuclear. Hashtag Paul Heyman betrayer has been trending. Memes about Paul's disloyalty are everywhere. Video packages comparing Paul's loyalty declarations to Roman with his current abandonment have gone viral. The internet wrestling community is eating this up. One final question: if Paul and Solo's alliance happens, how long before they turn on each other? Drop your prediction for when the inevitable betrayal occurs. The legacy implications for everyone involved are staggering. For Roman, this is about whether he can rebuild without Paul. For Solo, this is his chance to establish himself as more than Roman's enforcer. For Paul, this is another chapter in his story as wrestling's most calculating mind who will do anything to stay relevant and powerful. Now I want to hear from you, the Wrestling Newsletter family. Tell me in the comments, is Paul Heyman the most disloyal person in WWE? Should Solo accept or reject Paul's offer? Can Roman succeed without Paul Heyman? What's the most satisfying revenge Roman could get? Do you respect or despise Paul's business-first mentality? Will this lead to a bloodline civil war? Smash that like button if you're disgusted by Paul Heyman's betrayal of Roman Reigns. Destroy that like button if you think Paul is a genius for always positioning himself with winners. We need maximum engagement. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter because we're covering every development in this bloodline implosion and Paul's new alliance. Share this video with every wrestling fan because Paul Heyman planning a new alliance after Roman's Crown Jewel defeat is the most ruthless move in recent WWE history. The wise man has become the betrayer. Roman Reigns is abandoned. Solo Sikoa is being tempted. The bloodline is on the verge of civil war. And Paul Heyman is pulling the strings on everyone. This is the kind of cutthroat, strategic storytelling that makes wrestling compelling. The fallout is going to be legendary, and we're covering every shocking moment.